Hi, let's have a look at Ziliqa, one of the best performing cryptocurrencies in the last 7 days or so. Ziliqa is currently at approximately 8 cents, ticker symbol ZIL. And with that recent rise, we are back in the top 100. So Ziliqa is back to a market cap of close to 1 billion. Now in this video, we're gonna mainly talk about technical analysis. We will not discuss the fundamentals so much, but we will look at relative performance. So we will not stop at the US dollar chart of Ziliqa. We will look at performance relative to Bitcoin and also relative to Ethereum. So that's the long-term US dollar chart over here. This is Ziliqa measured in Bitcoin. So how does Ziliqa perform relative to Bitcoin? And here we've got the ZIL token divided by Ethereum. And so why do we even look at these kind of charts? Why don't we just stick with the US dollar chart? That's because you take on more risk by buying something like Ziliqa, right? The market dominance of Ziliqa is 0.04%. So 0.04% of all of crypto is in Ziliqa. For reference, Bitcoin is at around 40%. Or in other words, Bitcoin is 1,000 times larger than Ziliqa. So you take on way more risk by buying into this. And so you should expect, at least over the long term, to outperform Bitcoin or Ethereum. And that's why we look at this. It's also important to notice that the correlation between Ethereum and altcoins or Bitcoin and altcoins, it is pretty high. So over here, we've got the Bitcoin chart. Here we've got the Ziliqa chart, and it's just toggle between both of those charts. They don't look that different, right? Bitcoin was rallying over here. Ziliqa did the exact same thing. Then Ziliqa topped out, and so did Bitcoin. We went down in Bitcoin and we also went down in Ziliqa. So the movements, they are somewhat similar. When the main cryptocurrencies, they go up or they go down, then the altcoins, they go with it. And so that's why we want to look at relative performance. We want to know what are the movements that are specific to Ziliqa that are not simply caused by the general crypto market. And so here we've got the Ziliqa price divided by the Bitcoin price over the very long term. So this chart starts in February 2018. And so if you're wondering how much underperformance was this since the beginning, we are looking at 77% underperformance. So had you invested in Ziliqa in February 2018 instead of into Bitcoin, you would have only 1/4 of your purchasing power. Now that being said, there are temporary rallies, right? And these rallies, they are pretty massive. This, for example, is a 470% gain. This over here is a 430% gain. So there might be opportunity in timing this somewhat, but it's important to make this short-term trading with some kind of a system, right? That's why we want to look at the relative performance. The US dollar chart just shows us what all of crypto did during this time. The relative performance chart actually shows us where there could be potentially a floor, right? Look at this. In Q4 of 2019, Q1 of 2020, we basically bottomed out over here. But this kind of pattern isn't that clear in the US dollar chart, right? We did this massive crash, which was the Corona crash, but it didn't crash further than Bitcoin did. This was simply another consolidation. And so again, if we just look at support lines, potential resistance lines, this might make sense over here. We also have a support here of November 2020, where we just recently bounced off. If we just assume that we could go back again to these prior tops, we could see a potential outperformance versus Bitcoin of 140%. So that's currently the risk. If we go back down, 30% loss versus 140% gain. Now here's a very similar chart. This is now Ziliqa in Ethereum. And this looks a bit worse, right? Because Ethereum did outperform Bitcoin for quite a while actually. And so it does make sense that Ziliqa divided by the Ethereum price is not that pretty of a chart. We could look at something like this, a long-term underperformance where we are currently bouncing off this floor over here. Here, the potential outperformance versus Ethereum is higher though. So of course, in the end, this is just technical analysis, right? This is just looking at potential risk versus reward and general market psychology. does follow chart patterns to a certain degree, but of course, fundamental development has to underpin this, right? These kind of moves, a 250% outperformance versus Ethereum, it doesn't come automatically. Positive news are required, but the idea of TA is that very often price action is somewhat range bound. So if we get positive news, we might go up way further than if we get negative news, because already a lot of negativity has been priced in. So it's simply a game of odds, a game of risk versus reward. And you obviously want to rather buy when everybody is pessimistic on something than buy when an asset is already hyped, when it's very close to its prior highs. Now, how could we potentially time this? One way to look at this is we can use moving averages. So let's do exactly that. Let's add a moving average, which we can here barely see. So we have to adjust the styling. Let's make this maybe white, a bit more thick, and then we want to increase the duration, because the idea of moving averages is you want to buy whenever the price is above a moving average and sell whenever the price is below a moving average. So this is now the current duration, 9 days. And when we increase this duration here, we could come up with a system where we could have sold potentially over here and then rebought potentially over here. But the issue, of course, with this strategy is that you don't want to get too many wrong signals, right? When we're just going sideways for a while, we might buy and sell, and that also incurs a lot of trading fees and potentially also a lot of frustration. You don't want to go in and out of an asset all the time. And so one way to look at this is, for example, when we compare this bear market over here, again, this is the Ziliqa versus Ethereum price. If you compare this bear market over here with the current one, and we check when did actually the price really turn around? When did we see this momentum shift? Because this was basically a fake bull run, right? This was not really sustained. We afterwards went down again. If you're wondering what kind of magnitude we're talking here, this is another 50% underperformance. So these kind of corrections, they do matter. And this is now the 200-day moving average. So I think it gauges pretty well when we might just have a rejection or when we actually do break through this negative momentum. And this is currently where we are at, right? There's still quite a bit of way to go. We could maybe arbitrarily extend this line. Of course, we don't know exactly where this moving average is going to go because we don't know the future prices, but it might move something like this, right? And to get a real clear breakout, we would have probably to go up by another 20% or so, right? Let's zoom in here. If we really continue to shoot up, say another 25% versus Ethereum, then we might go all the way up. Otherwise, this could simply, again, just be a failed breakout, similar to what we had here in December 2019. So 25%. Let's assume Ethereum doesn't move that much, because in the recent weeks, it was pretty stable. It didn't go up too much. It didn't go down too much. So a 25% gain, let's say in US dollars, that would put us at around 10 cents. So that's where a potential real sustained breakout could be. Of course, on the US dollar chart, right, it wouldn't look that impressive, right? This is what we could somewhat draw. But it's interesting how these patterns, they align, right? When we go up to say 10 cents, we would also break this downward flag over here, which would be very, very bullish. But as mentioned, the US dollar price here is very much influenced by where all of crypto is going. If Bitcoin is going down, if Ethereum is going down, then Ziliqa will have a very hard time of breaking out here as well. It will have a very hard time to make gains. And one way to look at, say, Bitcoin or Ethereum to where it might potentially go is to zoom in on the 23-day moving average. There's a separate video on this channel. You might want to check that out. There's a back test where I tried to find out the perfect duration for trading Bitcoin, right? Where you want to enter whenever the price is above and you want to exit whenever the price is below, and you want to find out what's the best moving average for Bitcoin. And when you do that kind of a back test, you find out the 23-day, historically at least, it works the best. And so we are currently fighting with that moving average, right? We went shortly above it. Now we are again below. Short term, it doesn't look too bullish for Bitcoin. But of course, this approach isn't perfect either, right? We had quite a bit of wrong signals here in the past as well. This is simply what worked the best if we run the back test, but the best doesn't mean perfect, right? We do have potentially some noise here, and this might just be some more noise. So keep watching Bitcoin, keep watching Ethereum. And if you're bullish on those, and if we see Ziliqa reaching 10 cents, then we might have potentially quite a bit of a rally ahead of us. 260%, 240% gain versus Ethereum wouldn't be completely unreasonable given that the fundamental facts also align. If you enjoyed this video, please give this a like. YouTube will then help to grow the channel. And if you haven't yet, feel free to subscribe as well. I publish videos regularly. There's also the premium membership. You can find that at thebitcoinstrategy.com, link in the video description. There's daily market updates. There's a course on technical analysis on how to plot these relative charts, for example. We've also got a private Telegram channel where you can ask me any questions. There's also a public Telegram channel with more than 1,500 people. That can be found at Bitcoin Strategy channel. Simply search for that within the Telegram app. See you next time. Bye-bye.